Basketball as a sport is powered by its stars. As a fan, it doesn't get much more exciting than a matchup between two star players. And that's exactly what we got when Jaden Ivey's Purdue hosted Wisconsin's Johnny Davis. But not only are Ivey and Davis two of the best players in the country, they are also the top two guard prospects in the 2022 draft class, with this matchup between them likely having a strong impact on their draft stock relative to one another. Before we get into the game, let's quickly talk about what makes these sophomores such special prospects. Jaden Ivey is a 6'4" combo guard from La Lumiere Prep in LaPorte, Indiana. As an athlete, Ivey draws comparisons to Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant, and despite that being a lofty comparison, it's entirely warranted. He's a quick twitch athlete able to easily reach top speed and blow by defenders, as well as sky up around the rim for monstrous dunks. And Ivey pairs that athleticism with a lot of functional skill. His handle isn't spectacular, but it's good enough that when paired with his burst, he can get to the rim where he generates a lot of his points. In addition to this, Ivey's vastly improved as a catch and shoot threat this season, going from 25% last season to over 51% this season. And unlike some high-level athletes, Ivey leverages his athleticism on the defensive end too, where he's one of just 14 high major underclassmen guards with a steal rate and block rate above 2%. Ivey would have been a first-round pick last season, but instead, he bet on himself to improve his draft stock, and it's paid off. His blend of freak athleticism, two-way impact, and vastly improved shooting have catapulted him to a consensus top 5 prospect. Really quickly, only 4% of my viewers are subscribed. If you enjoy basketball content, subscribing helps me out a lot. In contrast, Johnny Davis wasn't a highly sought after recruit, and his meteoric rise to lotto prospect status was unexpected. He went from a slightly inefficient bench contributor with fouling and turnover issues last season to the offensive engine behind a Wisconsin team that was projected to finish 10th in the Big Ten's eye-opening 11-2 start, with wins over Houston and Indiana and a spot in the top 25 rankings. Davis is the nation's third leading scorer, and he does it with a blend of tough shot making from both the mid-range and three-point line, along with some crafty ambidextrous finishing at the rim. While Ivey is an elite athlete with functional skills, Davis is the opposite. He does a good job of both getting to the rim and creating separation along the perimeter with his handle, despite lacking top-end burst. However, Davis is far from unathletic, and he's both strong and agile, able to change directions far quicker than most players, which shows up as both a defender and ball handler. He also has an uncanny ability to always get his hands on the ball, leading to high steal, block, and rebounding numbers. And the fact that Davis is providing so much production in such a poorly spaced offense can't be ignored, as he's scored efficiently at a high volume despite Wisconsin ranking 296th in the nation in three-point percentage. While Davis's stats this season are higher than that of Ivey, that's due to Purdue playing through their two-headed monster at the center position, whereas Wisconsin's lackluster roster leaves them no option but to play through Johnny Davis at all times. And over the summer, both players were part of Team USA's gold medal winning FIBA U19 World Cup squad. However, while Ivey was the team's second leading scorer, Davis struggled to earn consistent minutes. It's pretty clear coming into this game that Ivey is currently the favored prospect, and Johnny has a lot of catching up to do if he wants the title of best guard in the 2022 draft class. Luckily for us, this game delivered. Davis is Wisconsin's best perimeter defender, so it's going to be important for him to slow down Ivey all game. And it's immediately apparent that Johnny Davis did his homework. Ivey immensely favors his dominant right hand, and Davis clearly tries to force Ivey left with his positioning. However, Ivey manages to get a switch, and he flashes his skill using a hesitation and a step back to generate a wide open look from 3. And while Davis was able to find space to shoot, he couldn't seem to find his shot early. But after a couple misses, Davis was able to put his head down and drive left on Ivey, quickly getting to his spot in the mid-range and creating just enough space to hit this contested jumper. The shot got Davis going, and he quickly followed up with a transition layup off of a Purdue turnover, and about a minute later, he used a shot fake to get by a closeout for a mid-range pull-up. Meanwhile, Ivey struggled to assert himself on the game, as Wisconsin forced him left and dared him to shoot from the perimeter. Davis continued to try and force Ivey left, but Ivey was able to use a slight hesitation move to bait Davis into taking one wrong step before blasting off to his right. And as he desperately tries to recover, all Davis can do is foul. Unfortunately for Ivey, a pretty soft charge call puts him on 2 fouls early, and Purdue chose not to risk it, sitting him for the rest of the first half. Wisconsin take advantage of this to give Davis some rest, but he does check in towards the end of the first and comes up with this impressive block and save. In the first half, Wisconsin's plan to force Jaden Ivey left on drives and daring him to shoot made things challenging for the Purdue star, as he totaled just 1 first half point. In contrast, Johnny Davis struggled to get things going early, but was able to get in rhythm midway through the first and led Wisconsin to a 5-point halftime lead. Jaden Ivey came out aggressive in the second half, taking advantage of the space Wisconsin gave him on the perimeter to drain an early three, then carrying on with that momentum, leveraging his athleticism to navigate his screen and stay tight to Johnny Davis, forcing a miss, and finally a left-to-right crossover to get by his defender and draw a foul at the rim. And at this point, the game caught fire. First, Davis used a screen and rescreen to get himself downhill, making a good passing read at the rim. Davis struck again, posting up a smaller defender and scoring with a fade. Then Purdue used a screen to get Jaden Ivey downhill with his right, and he blew past Davis for the score. Davis finally makes a mistake dribbling the ball off his foot, but comes up with an incredible block in transition. And while Ivey showed flashes of the impact his athleticism can have, like this nuclear speed transition fast break, he also struggled at times to capitalize on the advantages his athleticism creates for him. Ivey's great at going 0 to 100, but doesn't throw in those 0 to 60 to 100 changes of pace that make elite NBA athletes so lethal. It's something that he'll likely figure out with time, but currently eludes him. And Johnny Davis's tough shot-making ability dominated the game down the stretch. First coming off his screen and draining a three for the lead, then driving left into traffic before rising for a mid-range fade, followed up by some smart off-ball movement creating an open shot from deep, and finally a step-back long two for the dagger to go up 7 with 1 minute left. A career-high 37 points from Johnny Davis in the biggest game of his career carried Wisconsin to an upset win over Purdue. I think this game firmly established Davis as a top 10 prospect in the 2022 draft class. His tough shot-making ability in the biggest moments is undeniable, and his abilities to get to the rim, finish, and make the right passing reads bolster his impressive offensive ability. And on the defensive end, his length, effort, and mobility leave him as an impactful defender as well. Johnny did the unthinkable, and he certainly has me questioning who the best guard in the class is. On the other hand, I actually feel pretty good about what Jaden Ivey was able to do. This was one of the first times an opponent really attacked his weaknesses, and while it bothered him in the first half, he was able to come out in the second half and have real impact on the game, and it helped Purdue take an early second half lead. But his inability to maximize his offensive tools was blatantly apparent at times, and it's something he'll hopefully improve before his rematch with Davis later this season.